Go for the gallery. Go for the win. Go to Ocean. Visit theoceanac.com to plan your visit.
Philadelphia fans, we're cut from a different cloth. Born into a brotherhood and bonded to our team for life. We believe anything is possible because we've witnessed the impossible. While we may be from different neighborhoods, come Sunday, we are one, and we will be heard. Pondley Hockey, official partner of the Philadelphia Eagles.
It's way too early for this Tone the Shields, but I'm fired up now. I am way too fired up here on Good Morning MCs. It might be because the Phillies lost. I don't know. I don't really care about them right now because the Philadelphia Eagles are 8-0. And I am going to get you guys fired up this morning because Clarence Hill Jr., writer for the Dallas Cowboys, woke up and chose violence this morning. I'm not even going to entertain this tweet, but I got to because I'm a morning show host. And let's find it since he seems to want to respond to everybody here.
Oh, I got it right here for you, Jeff.
Yeah, I'm going to say right here because I'm fired up, baby. The Eagle, Clarence Hill Jr., writer for the Fort Worth Star-Telegram of the Dallas Cowboys. Go after him, Eagles fans, because here it is. The Eagles are still undefeated, but they are no juggernaut. They are living on borrowed time. They are not the best team in the NFL. I could agree with that part on they're not the best team in the NFL, despite their record. The NFC is wide open. That's a fact. Argue with your mama. And who's beating them, Clarence? The Cowboys? Who's beating them? Because the Cowboys certainly aren't doing it. Hey, last time I checked, the Eagles kicked the crap out of the Cowboys. And but I forgot. Before I get to you, Tone, this is all I got to say.
No, you're good. Go.
The Eagles beat the Cowboys badly at Lincoln Financial Field, and here's the Cowboys fans' excuse. We had a backup quarterback. The Eagles won a Super Bowl with a backup quarterback. I can't take this anymore. Everything is a hot take in this today's society. It drives me insane. Show me the proof. Who is better than the Philadelphia Eagles? Right now, show me it. I don't care who they beat last night. Go.
Yes, Jeff. I love it. I love it. Clarence chose violence, but you chose destruction. I love it. Look, you guys, look, at the end of the day, man, you're going to have people who clearly are just trying to get a reaction, and they just and they fear what they don't understand. They fear the storm. They fear what's to come. And this tweet, I'm reading it myself, and I smell fear. I smell blood in the water. You know what I mean? Yep. And just how we're going to read his tweet, and this is no way a bash Clarence Hill Jr. session. This is not what this is.
Great writer, by the way.
Great writer. As a matter of fact, he's been a Cowboy writer since 1997. He's been battle tested with going through 7 coaches with only 3 playoff wins and countless scandals, controversies, and unfulfilled expectations. But those are his words, not mine. At the end of the day, every team can get touched. I talk about it all the time. It doesn't matter how good or bad you are. If someone catches you on the right time, you can look bad. We've seen it. Kansas City Chiefs lost to the Indianapolis Colts earlier this season. But is their credibility being questioned? I think not. Let's not forget, this Eagles team did win a Super Bowl in the past 5 years. So they're stamped. Now, like I said to you before, Jeff, I firmly believe there are people who are waiting and waiting and waiting for Jalen Hurts to fall off this proverbial cliff. But here's the thing. What they don't understand is the way he approaches the game, his discipline, he's not going to fall off a cliff. Will he have a bad game here and there or a questionable decision here and there? Sure, everyone does. You're a person that plays a game that requires risk and reward. But at the end of the day, man, the Eagles are 8-0. And I'm not going to allow someone who's dealing with a team that has more questions than answers to provide speculation on my team or to debunk what we're doing right now. So, Jeff, let's hop right into it, man. Let's not spend too much time on the debauchery.
I do have to say this, though. This is the typical Cowboys. Every single year, they beat a crappy Bears team. I'm going to say they're a crappy football team. The NFC North sucks. By the way, the Eagles get to play them later this year. And they score 49 points off them. They beat up a bad team, as they should, and now all of a sudden they're talking. Wait till the Eagles face Dak. The Eagles might be 15-0 by the time they face Dak, and it might not matter. I'm not saying that they're going to be, but because
you're listen, it might not matter, right? And look, at like I said, at the end of the day, the Eagles are 8-0. And this is something you have to respect. You are what your record says you are. And I don't think they're living on borrowed time because they've shown a propensity to win in multiple different ways. They've shown an ability to score pretty much at will. Exactly. Every time they needed a surge or a point or a game-changing moment, they delivered on it. And I think that's what makes this team so fascinating. They answer the call, they answer the bell no matter what happens. And look, they were on a short week, Thursday Night Football. No team in this NFL has played their best football on Thursday Night Football. That's abundantly obvious. That's kind of like the unspoken or the unwritten, I guess, mantra, right? No, it's Thursday Night Football. Everyone hates Thursday Night Football. These guys had to travel 1,500 miles from Philly to Houston. No real practice, no real preparation. And they still got it done on a short week against a team that's playing pretty freely. They have nothing to lose at this point. How can you hate what you're seeing? How can you deny what you're seeing unless you're just upset about what you're seeing?
It's ironic, too, because I thought they played really well for being on a short week. I did.
Yeah. They almost put up 30, really.
I mean, they went right down the field and scored. I mean, them and Houston were trading back and forth scoring-wise early in the game. It was a really quick football game because both teams run the ball so efficiently. And you were saying earlier, Tone, you weren't too crazy about the game plan to start the game because Houston is really bad at running the football. But they kind of settled into that a bit. I think Jalen Hurts was a little antsy is the right word to start the game, obviously, back in Houston, family, friends, etc. Like, who can you not, right? The guy is human. As much as he kind of stays away from it, he is human. But look, still, 21-27, 243, 2 touchdowns, no picks, 128.9 rating. He's the first Eagles quarterback with 125-plus passer rating in consecutive games since Nick Foles in 2013. Before Nick Foles, it was Randall Cunningham in 1988. And through all the storm, the Eagles still did not trail in the second half. They have not trailed in the second half in any game this year. It just felt like they dominated once they got back in the locker room and were like, okay, let's get things settled here. Let's get back to normal. We had a fumble. Okay, and look, even the fumble, Tone, that was a weird play because I thought Jason Kelce snapped the ball early, and you could tell, like, Hurts was like, oh, okay, like, I got the ball, and it screwed up, like, Jordan Malott, screwed up the whole offensive line, and, Hurts, it was sack fumble Hurts. I'm like, okay, whatever, you're bound to do that, and again, I thought the defense, too, they were shaky to start, not like they were terrible, they were just allowing long drives, but they settled in, and I have to look at the possession numbers here. So Houston scored a touchdown on the first drive, just went 9 plays, 75 yards. They also had a 7-play, 75-yard drive. The second half, it was – see, I got that up here. It was like 115 total yards, essentially, and 3 points. So, I mean, kudos to the Eagles for whatever halftime adjustments they made. And, look, you can bash them all you want. There's a reason why they're 8-0.
That's true. And, I think the biggest takeaway from this game, and like the live chat is saying, right? A win is a win. And, this was Houston's best play all year. They must have circled this on their calendars, right? But I think for me, like you said, I did have a problem with the game plan. I felt like we essentially didn't stack the box enough. We knew what they wanted to do. We knew they wanted to throw the ball. We knew they wanted to run the ball. And we just didn't. It just seemed like we relied too much on our front four to stop that. And I don't have a problem with that. if Jordan Davis is there. And that's the biggest takeaway for me. That Jordan Davis, his presence was sorely missed. And if I'm being completely real with myself, even beyond this game, I think we're going to have some problems going forward in terms of responding to the run game, because we have some legit running backs coming up on this schedule here, and I think it's going to be important for the Eagles to really, really tighten up the tackling. Like, tackling is an issue. Like, we're about 9 weeks. We're 9 weeks in. Tackling is an issue. Next week we do play the Commanders, so that's not going to be as bad, but they're playing better. But then you got to think about Jonathan Taylor coming up for the Colts, Aaron Jones, Derrick Henry. That stretch of game, Saquon Barkley, that four game stretch is going to be tough from a run defense perspective. And I'm really curious to see how Jonathan Gannon responds over the course of these several weeks.
What if I told you the Texans have better offensive line than the Indianapolis Colts? Would you believe me?
No, I wouldn't, because
they do.
Because I believe the Colts have Quentin Nelson, right? They had that.
Yeah, but it's a bad unit. It's a really bad unit. Like, they are not cohesive at all. They do not who's going to be their left tackle week in, week out. 1 week it's Bernard Ryman, 1 week it's Matt Pryor. They have Quentin Nelson. Braden Smith should be better. Ryan Kelly should be better. They're not. I don't know what the issue is in Indianapolis, but I don't want to get too deep in Indianapolis here. But this is where I think the first fix needs to be made now that Jordan Davis isn't going to be back for at least the next 3 games. So the Eagles elevated Marvin Wilson from the practice squad and had him play like the Jordan Davis role. It did not work. Marvin, he got just beat up on the line last night. And I'm like, look, I know they don't want to do this, but Javon Hargrave played that role in Pittsburgh. Use him in that role. And then you can use Marlon I can't pronounce his name. Tuipulotu. It's 7 in the morning. And you're going to play him more. You're going to play Milton Williams more. But they want Javon Hargrave to go ahead to the passer, which is fine. 5 sacks in 5 days. I cannot want to do that. But that's the role they should move Hargrave to. The Jordan Davis role, as in play more nose, play more above the center. Because that's what Jordan Davis was doing. He was having great success. They tried Marvin Wilson out last night. It just failed miserably. It blew up in their faces.
Yeah, and Marvin Wilson, he was in a practice squad, hasn't really gotten too many reps, so it's hard to really put too much of the blame on him. Really, he's in a practice squad for a reason. You know what I mean? And it's hard to replace a guy that's like 6'6", 330 pounds that can move like a deer. It's hard to replace that kind of guy, right?
I've seen him enough this year. He's up.
Yeah. I met him in person at the Maxwell Awards, and Jordan Davis, he is as advertised. But another thing I want to touch on about this game is, man, the price is going to continue to go up for Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, man. The price is going up.
Leader in picks.
Say it again. You kind of broke out there.
He's the league leader in interceptions, Stone.
Now he is 5 interceptions through. He's had an interception in four consecutive games.
Here's your fun stat. Team picks. Saints, 2. Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, 5.
Wow.
This secondary, I'll tell you what, you got to give them some credit. Like, they didn't even have what I thought was their best night, and they still had a really good night. They had 2 turnovers. The pass rush was getting home, and the secondary definitely took advantage of the second half. I definitely did not have this on the bingo card last night. I tweeted it. Philip Dorsett beating James Bradbury on a one-on-one route. On a go route. I did not see that coming last night. Again, and I think that's a product of the short week. The Eagles were just caught a little flat-footed at times, but they adjusted. They did not panic. Yeah, they trailed early, but it just felt like the game was never in doubt. Like, the more talented team was going to win that football game. I just think people like Clarence Hill are just overanalyzing a Thursday night football game against a bad team.
Yeah, I've never seen someone go so in depth on a Thursday night game. If the
Cowboys lost to the Texans, I would laugh, just like the Giants did. But I'm not going to be like, oh, okay, they suck. No, or they're not that good. No, because every team has an off week. I mean, the Giants had an off week last week, and they played a good football team. It is what it is. I'm not going to sit here and say, the Giants are frauds just because they lost to a good football team in Seattle. But they're still 6-2. I'm not going to say the Cowboys are frauds because they lost to. Oh, that's right. They lost to Philadelphia. So I don't know. It just seems like the Cowboys have the biggest excuse in the world right now for why they're 6-2, even though they won every single game with Cooper Rush. And then he was exposed against the Rams, and the Eagles took advantage of it. I don't know. I always say this, Tone. I always say in life, people make excuses when they're not succeeding. They always say how hard they work. No. You know what? The people that work hard actually don't need to tell you that.
Absolutely, man. And, think about where the Cowboys are. Think about what they've been. They have been disappointing habitually, perpetually, regularly. And it's hard to accept that and deal with that, especially when you're in that market and you see the talent that's going through those buildings. It's hard to accept why and how they've been so dysfunctional. And it is what it is. Like I said, man, this game, I don't put too much stock into any Thursday night football performance. I just don't. You know what I'm saying? The players hate it. I hate it. It's a random day in the week. The NFL obviously loves it because it's a cash cow. But I just don't put too much stock into a Thursday night performance. The only thing I put stock into was the fact that Dameon Pierce was bullying a lot of those guys. And a lot of those guys, they got out the way. Let's be honest. A lot of those guys got out of the way.
Like everybody goes, Dameon Pierce, he does this every week. I mean, the Texans stink, but he's good. Jerry Hughes is a good player. Like, I can see why the Texans did not want to trade Jerry Hughes. I know why they did not want to trade Brandon Cooks outside the contract. By the way, I gotta touch on this for a second, since the Eagles did play the Texans. I know Brandon Cooks feels like he was betrayed, but dude, you signed a contract.
Yeah, that's what I don't understand.
You get paid $18 million guaranteed next year. Like, I love Brandon Cooks, nice guy. I get it. But, man, read the room. You want to have your cake and eat it, too. And no one was going to trade essentially what the Texans wanted was a first-round pick for Brandon Cooks. No one was going to do that. Not for that salary. The only team that really kind of entertained that was Dallas. And I get it. I get why they wanted to do it. But I think the best move Jerry made was not making one.
Agreed. It's funny. Brandon Cooks, like you said, he signed a contract. It's hard for me to feel bad for a guy that you signed the deal recently, as a matter of fact. And I don't know what you were told. I don't know what lies you're coming up for. I can't speak to that. All I know is you signed the contract, my man. You chose to be there. You decided to take the bag. And you have to live with that. You have to live with that. But, look, at the end of the day, the Philadelphia Eagles are 8-0. They were able to hold on and beat the Texans 29-17. And I'm just really curious to hear rather, what Mark Farzetta has to say about this. Mark Farzetta, he's the host of the JAKIB Sports pregame show with Derek Gunn. And those guys do an amazing job. And he's also the host of his own show, The Farzi Show, that you guys can catch Monday through Friday at 6 a.m. streaming at you live for a solid hour, breaking down the Eagles, breaking down the Phillies, breaking down the Sixers, all things Philly sports. Mark Farzetta has you covered, and he gives you the most passionate takes out there in the game with the most astute analysis. I hope you heard that, Mark. Now, Jeff, any final thoughts before we hit this break, my man?
I'm just going to add on to this and say, if you're a smart man, if you're a really smart man, you get up at 5:30, you eat your breakfast, brush your teeth, tune into the Farzi Show at 6. Come here to Good Morning NFC East at 7, and you stay at the Birds 365 at 8. Man, we're shameless self-promoters here, Tone. We just do not care.
Shameless. Listen, you got to take care of your people. You guys are locked in on Good Morning NFC East. He's Jeff Kerr. I'm your guy, Tone DeShields II. Keep it locked, you guys. Mark Farzetta is coming up next, right after this.
Philly sports fans, I'm Tom Giordano from Ponley Hockey Giordano. First and foremost, thank you for watching the Ponley Hockey postgame show. But right now, we're giving away tickets to the World Series. Follow Ponley Hockey on Instagram and check out our posts for your chance to win tickets to all 3 Phillies home games. Go Phillies and go Birds.
Welcome to Pond Lehocky, the largest workers' compensation law firm in Pennsylvania. With over 250 years of combined courtroom experience, we've helped over 100,000 injured and disabled workers obtain benefits, as well as some of the biggest settlements in the state. Even better, Pond Lehocky doesn't charge a dime until you win. If you've been injured at work, give Pond Lehocky a call.
Go to get your game on. Go for the beers. Go for the cheers. Go for the hit and the hits. Go for the stakes and the stakes. Go to get your parlay on. Go to get your party on. Go for the scene. Go for the screens. Go for the gallery. Go for the win. Go to Ocean. Visit theoceanac.com to plan your visit.
It's a fall car fest, and Jeff D'Ambrosio, Destination Downingtown, says, yes, you can. Jeff says, yes, you can choose from over 1,000 vehicles in stock with no wait. Yes, you can still get low prices, leases, and big discounts. Yes, you can still get low interest financing. And Jeff always says, yes, you can have a real deal buying experience without the hassle. When the other dealers say, no, you can't, Jeff says, yes, you can. Jeff D'Ambrosio, Destination Downingtown. Nobody treats you better. Jeep Adventure Days.
Philadelphia fans, were cut from a different cloth. Born into a brotherhood and bonded to our team for life. We believe anything is possible because we've witnessed the impossible. While we may be from different neighborhoods, come Sunday, we are one, and we will be heard. Pond Lehocky, official partner of the Philadelphia Eagles.
Forza had a big night last night, obviously hosting the Pond Lehocky pregame show, but he looks wide awake. Clarence woke me up this morning, Mark. I'm not even going to entertain him on the Bird app because I can do that right here on Good Morning NFC East. So, did you see the tweet, Mark?
I did not see the tweet. I don't know, what are you talking about here?
Oh, man. So I got to pull this up here because I'm a bitter person, and I just decided to blast him on the air. The Eagles are still undefeated, Clarence Hill tweeted at 6:41 a.m. But they are no juggernaut. They are living on borrowed time. They are not the best team in the NFL, despite their record. The NFC is wide open. That's a fact. Argue with your mama. By the way, Clarence Hill Jr., as we all know, covers the Dallas Cowboys, the most underachieving team in the NFL the past 25 years.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I kind of feel bad for the guy because, he wouldn't know a winner if it jumped up and bit him in the ass based on what he's been exposed to in Dallas. So I kind of like more so what RG3 had to say after the game, which was that Jalen Hurts is the MVP. And don't at me. And first off, I don't argue with my mother because I respect my mother, Clarence Hill, and I will never argue with Eleanor Farzetta because she is a saint on top of that. But this Eagles team, look, I think everyone knows the schedule they're playing. But last I checked, no team has their own flex schedule where they could say, hey, you know what? Instead of playing the Texans, we're going to play the Bills on Thursday night. That doesn't happen. You can only play the team in front of you. Let's use that cliche because it's true. And when the Eagles play that team in front of them, they beat that team in front of them. When the Eagles face adversity, they respond to adversity. I was joking about this on the pregame last night with Seth Joyner when he mentioned the fact that the Eagles are still undefeated. You look at the idea right now that this Eagles team, we were almost looking forward to them experiencing adversity. That's why when they went down 14-0 to the Jaguars, we're all like, oh, good. Let's see how they bounce back. And sure enough, they bounced back. And now everyone, doesn't want to talk about how good they are, how well they've been playing. They've been talking about how and when the shoe is going to drop on this Eagles team. And guess what? Now like three weeks of people really talking about being undefeated. Shoe still hasn't fell. Shoe still hasn't dropped. This team's still playing well and then responding to adversity. You're tied 14-14 against the Texans, and you come out and you handle your business in the second half, make sure you win this football game. They're doing what they can. They're doing all that's being asked of them, which is just win, baby.
Now I know what it feels like to be a Buffalo Bills fan and a Kansas City Chiefs fan. Essentially, if you're an Eagles fan, you know what it feels like. You're waiting for them to screw up. And the only time they seem to screw up is when they play each other. I mean, Cincinnati notwithstanding in the AFC Championship. Remember, by the way, can you imagine being a Chiefs fan right now and hearing the logic they have to hear? Patrick Mahomes isn't good, or he's not as good as you make him out to be. And Jeff Kerr just puts out a stat every single day that makes Patrick Mahomes the best quarterback in the world. And even Bills fans agree with it. And you still got his haters. Like, Jalen Hurts, you still got his haters. You still got people saying, he can't do this, he can't do this. I'm waiting for, Jalen Hurts just doesn't throw the ball enough, or Jalen Hurts doesn't tie his shoe fast enough, or, Jalen Hurts is from Houston, he's an Astros fan, so we shouldn't like him. Every single thing right now, the Eagles are winning, they're playing well, and their quarterback just can't make a mistake. And I think it just drives people insane nationally. And I think nationally a lot of people do like Jalen Hurts. I mean, I've talked to people that love him, but you got his haters. They are waiting in that hornet's nest, just waiting for the nest to be kicked. And the Eagles, they are just politely bypassing him.
Yeah, I'm just quite frankly blown away by what I've seen from Jalen Hurts so far this season. I mean, you look at guys that have gone into off seasons, and we all know when people have things to work on, and we want to see them come back the following year and have worked on those things and see the proof in the pudding. And Jalen Hurts is a walking, talking example of that. And you know what I loved last night? I love that for the first time since this great season's been going on, Jalen Hurts was actually in a state of like reflectiveness. He was looking back on how great it is to be 8-0, sure, but not just that, how great it was to win that game and play the way he did. I know he had, 2 fumbles, lost the one when it mattered, and then one towards the end of the game. But the way he played that game last night, you could tell that he was just very pleased with not only himself, but the team, not only for being 8-0, but for going to his hometown, playing in front of his family and friends, playing the way they did, and improving for the first time ever in Eagles history to 8-0. I like the idea that he was basking it for a second. The fact that they have like another mini bye week essentially through this time, it allows you to sit back, reflect for a second before you move on to play the Commanders again. But I like everything I've seen from him. And last night, I was blown away by his poise. When it just came to how he was in the pocket for the most part, his accuracy, dropping back, letting go of the football, hitting Dallas Goedert in the middle of the field, hitting Devontae Smith or A.J. Brown on slant routes, how accurate he was with that. Seeing him just kind of be very poised in the pocket, knowing when to escape, I thought he just looked cool and steady throughout that game. And it was very impressive. Even through the adversity, even after a sack or two or a fumble, he gathered himself and he got back to it. And after that fumble, the defense gave the ball right back to him. So I just thought that this team, especially on that 18-play drive to open things up for themselves offensively, I thought Jalen Hurts looked calm, cool, and collected throughout the game.
I set the tone at the beginning of the game. I thought he was a little antsy playing in Houston, playing in front of friends and family. And he missed Dallas Goedert. Dallas Goedert was wide open. He missed him. Mm-hmm. He ended up making up for that. But I think it was Quez Watkins. I'm trying to remember because this is around time I'm watching both games because I think it was right when Schwarber hit the home run. I think he missed Quez Watkins early. I'm like, wow, this is very uncharacteristic of Jalen Hurts. Like, but I get it. It's a short week. It's Houston. I'm like, I wasn't too concerned about. But you're right. The poise, the calmness of him. Like, but I'm glad too he had a chance to reflect because let's think about this for a second. The Eagles have been around for 90 years. They never started 8-0. Never. Not the 04 team, not the 02 team, not the 17 team, not the 80 team, not the 60 team, not the 48, 49 teams. This team, this Eagles team started 8-0. And it is an impressive accomplishment. And, the last time the Eagles had a chance to start 8-0 varsity, you and I remember that day very well. Deuce Staley and, Deuce Staley and, Dredis ran through their defense and Donovan Aventillo had that little spat on the sidelines and they lost 27-3. And I'm like, okay, how good is this team? Like, I know they're really good. They're probably going to the Super Bowl, but can they beat Pittsburgh? Can they beat New England? I don't know what they're with this team. They're last unbeaten outside of maybe Buffalo and Kansas City. And again, the Eagles don't play them. That 0-4 team did play Pittsburgh. I think the Eagles can beat them now. I still think there are better teams than the Eagles. Buffalo is one, but
yeah,
the Eagles can beat them. That's the thing. I know they can beat them. But can they actually do it? Is the question.
Well, you know what? First off, I'd love to find out in a Super Bowl. But But so here's the thing. Yeah, you look around the rest of the league. When your team is playing well, regardless of 8-0, or they're just having a good start to the season, whatever they might be, you always look around the league. And anytime you see a team, like the Buffalo Bills, like the old cliche rings true with the Buffalo Bills. It's like, when you ask somebody what's the key to the game, score more points than the other team. It actually applies more so than anybody to the Buffalo Bills, because the Buffalo Bills score the second most points in the NFL and allow the fewest points in the NFL. So their offense is stacked, their defense is stacked, and they find ways to win games even when there's some turmoil. So they didn't play that great against the Packers, but they still Josh Allen had himself a good game. He had a little flick of the wrist pass there for a touchdown to Stephon Diggs, which was great. They're a stout football team, it goes without saying. But when you're 8-0, even if you haven't played anybody like the Eagles, and people want to talk about the cake schedule, and they're right to a degree, the bottom line is you've won. If you have been down, you came back and won. If you had an untimely turnover, you erased it with good defense, and you came back and won. When you faced adversity in Arizona on the road, you found a way to win the game. You didn't play great in that game, but you found a way to win. Good teams find ways to win. Bad teams find ways to lose. And this Eagles team, time and time again, finds a way to win. Now, look, it's the NFL. Everyone's getting paid. There's opportunities last night where the Texans, maybe with Pierce, runs over a couple of more guys. Next thing you know, it's a lot closer in that fourth quarter. Maybe you don't get the sack from Javon Hargrave. Maybe you don't have an interception late from James Bradbury. Maybe some things don't bounce your way as this game goes on, and you got to make sure you're fighting hard as the game's ending to make sure you solidify the win. The Eagles, when you're 8-0, when you keep winning, I don't care who the opponent is, you're finding ways to win. Is it more impressive it's the Bills? Sure. But the bottom line is you're finding ways to win these games. And as that continues, it lets me know that, all right, no matter what happens, the Eagles are going to be in it. You talked about Patrick Mahomes. We can mention Josh Allen. Those teams feel like they're always in it because of their quarterback. I feel like that because we have Jalen Hurts.
Exactly. The Eagles are winning because of Jalen Hurts. This is a great football team, but you're starting to see every single week it's, quarterback, can Jalen Hurts beat Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen in a shootout? Guess what? I think he can, because he keeps proving it every single week. And he doesn't have to, but Jalen Hurts is a really good football player. And it's like you said, Farzi, Robert Griffin third sweep. He's the MVP. Don't at me. Right now, he is. If I had to pick against him, say, okay, you have to pick an MVP, but it's not Jalen Hurts. Okay, it's Josh Allen, right? Mm-hmm. Patrick Mahomes is up there. But that's how good Jalen Hurts has been this year. This is what I love. People who said, he needs his legs to thrive. Well, he hasn't used his legs in weeks. Mm-hmm. His legs have been empty at the gas station, and he decided not to refill them because he's got an arm. So, I just keep looking at him as every single week he just finds a new way to beat you. And this was a week where he had to go outside the pocket a bit. He hasn't been doing that much because he hasn't had to. But what was the one play? I think it was it 2nd and 6 or 3rd and 6 where it looked like he was going to get sacked, and you could tell he wanted to throw the ball downfield. He didn't. And he kind of escaped pressure, and he ran for the first down anyway. That was on the drive, I think, where they made it 29-17. And then he had that wild throw to Goddard 2 plays later when he was rolling outside the pocket. He looked so effortless in doing it. It took the big hit. And I'm just like, this guy's got it, man. He's got everything you want out of a franchise quarterback. It's not, is Jalen Hurts a franchise quarterback? How much is Jalen Hurts going to get paid?
Yeah, I thought at the beginning of the year, I was like, well, he won't see the $40 million a year type of deal, but he might see the $40 million type. The Eagles are going to do that thing that they've done throughout history, whether it was Joe Banner or it's Howie Roseman, whoever it might be, where they dangle that little carrot in front of you and they go, all right, am I going to jump on this now, or am I going to wait a minute and bet on myself? I think Jalen Hurts jumps on it, but I think the Eagles will give him an offer. I don't want to look. I don't mean this in a disrespectful way, but they're going to give him a low ball offer because they're going to try to save some money, right, for the back end of the contract, especially. But even if it's not, even if it is an exorbitant amount, Howie Roseman in the cap, it doesn't really exist in the NovaCare complex. Like, there is no cap. Like, Howie Roseman waves a magic wand, he gives a big fat check to somebody, and then alleviates cap pressure, for somebody else. Like, that's the way Howie Roseman runs things. But I think he is going to get paid. I think he's going to be one of the highest paid quarterbacks in the league. And I think he might even turn down the initial offer from the Eagles and just bet on himself and continue to play great football as the season goes on. But let me, if I may, and please, I know I'm the guest, but I have to ask this question to just make sure I'm not crazy. The way the Eagles ran out the clock, first off, I understand that quarterback sneak is great, and it seems to always work with the Eagles, and Jason Kelce loves it, and it's got the highest percentage chance of winning. He is our franchise quarterback. Here's what I've decided already. Jalen Hurts is the franchise quarterback. I'm not looking at the draft class coming in at quarterbacks. I'm not looking at who's going to be available in the offseason at quarterback. I'm not looking to make trades. Jalen Hurts is the quarterback for the foreseeable future for the Philadelphia Eagles. He is the franchise guy. Can we limit the amount of times we have him go head first into the defensive line? I know it works, but like last night at the end of the game, I don't need, and I think the first one was a mistake, I don't need Jalen Hurts in that situation going head first when you already have the game pretty much won, going head first to that defensive line time and time again. I'm not one to be terrified of injuries, but damn, when you talk about concussions, damn, when you talk about, just guys getting hurt in general, I don't want to put his head in that much peril time and time again. Am I crazy to just have that thought pass through my mind? Or if it's working, stick with it?
From 2000 to 2005, I always worried about that with Donovan McNabb. So I'm like,
okay.
no, don't take off. I'm like, no. And I knew that was his biggest strength. I'm like, Donovan, just stop. Don't do this to yourself. And Andy Reid didn't care. He didn't care. And then he breaks his leg on like the weirdest of plays on the Vet Stadium turf on that fateful day in 2002. But besides the point. But yeah, you're right. I don't want to see Jalen Hurts suffer a concussion. I don't want to see Jalen Hurts have to miss time. And again, I think the Eagles can win a game or two with Gardner Minshew because they did do that last year, but right. I don't want to experience that. This is your, and I'm sure Bills fans could do the same thing with Josh Allen. It's like, dude, do you have to run? Do you really have to do this to yourself? Yeah. I know you're a big guy.
It's not even the running part. Like I get, like he's a smart player. He's a great athlete. I think Jalen Hurts does a great job at determining when to run. Like, I don't think he's a guy that drops back and just goes, I'm just going to go and goes. Sometimes it happens and it works to the benefit of the team. But I think he's smart enough and determines when he should run. I'm talking about the play calls where we're constantly doing, like, the end of the game is what got me. The goal line situation.
The 4th-and-1 situation, right?
Yeah. The goal line situations I get because there's literally 6 points or 7 points right there for the waiting, for the taking. But at the end of the game, there was 2 QB sneaks when you're up 27-7 or 29-17. And I'm like, you got this game. We don't need to put him at risk. Like, he's a franchise guy. I want to make sure he's protected as much as possible as the season goes on.
I'm just going to go by a former defensive lineman's mentality. Hard to believe I used to be a defensive lineman, but
wow.
Right. Yeah, I was a little bit bigger back in the day. I was a speedy defensive lineman.
I'm going to need pre and post. I'm going to need pre and post pics of that.
Oh, trust me, it's funny. So this is back. Again, same situation, right? It's like a 3rd-and-1, 4th-and-1. Well, they forgot to sub me out. So I'm like, because I was in on those types of plays. I'm like, oh, wait, it's probably going to be a quarterback sneak. I get my chance to hit him. I get a really good free chance to hit him. I took advantage of it pretty good. I mean, the quarterback still got the first down. I got the shot in. And I'm sure NFL defensive players are like Jerry Hughes and guys like that. They're like, ooh, I get the chance to get Jalen Hurts because he's going to sneak it. There's no way they're running the ball. They're not giving it to Miles Sanders. They're not going to put it at risk. They're going to put their big quarterback in there. And, yeah, you're going to get a shot in. And they're going to feel it. And, I mean, Hurts is a big dude. I'm sure he takes care of himself. But, yeah, it's like, I get it. But do you have to do it every single time? Like, you have the best offensive line in football. You mean to tell me you can't? Go old school. Go fullback. Make up a fullback. I don't know.
They did bounce it out once with him. I noticed they lined up in the quarterback sneak. You thought you were going to sneak it, and they actually bounced it to the outside in one of the plays for Jalen Hurts. And I'm like, yes, yeah, that's good. Do more of that.
Yeah. We're nitpicky, by the way. The Eagles are 8-0, and we're Clarence Hilling this team. Like, it's Jalen Hurts trying the ball too much. It's the run defense is bad. It's okay. Like, we gotta calm down here. It was a short week, but I'll tell you what, Mark. I keep looking at this team, and I know I've been talking about this on the show plenty of times. When the heck are they going to lose?
Well, I know the last time we talked about that Tennessee Titans game and Derrick Henry coming in here, and you see Damian. Yeah, Damian Pierce did pretty much what he wanted to, and granted, it was the first game without Jordan Davis there, but you still have a pretty stout defensive line even without Jordan Davis. This run defense does scare me, and you're going to have Jonathan Gannon play well out of his comfort zone before he plays that Tennessee Titans game, because he's going to have to get on the line of scrimmage and he's going to have to be aggressive, not blitzing, but he's going to have to stack the box. You're going to have your corners probably playing back a little bit there, but Jonathan Gannon is not going to be comfortable in that game. And that's where even more of the impact, I think, of Vic Fangio is going to come in here with being more aggressive around the line of scrimmage. And again, I know when people hear aggressive, they hear blitzing. I'm not talking about that because Derrick Henry can run right through that blitz like it's nothing. But you're going to have to see Jonathan Gannon in this run defense play tough, play fast, play aggressive, play smart, stay in their lane. And that is a game that I look at on the schedule as the most likely that the Eagles lose. Not that they will, but the most likely. If you're looking at the most threatening game on this schedule to this point, that's going to be the game against the Titans. And I know everyone's talking about it now. Now it's like Tony Gonzalez on the postgame show last night asked the question to Jason Kelce and to Jalen Hurts. So when are you guys going to lose? How do you block that conversation out? Well, first off, if you want me to block it out, stop asking me. And second, never? Like, what am I supposed to say to that? Yeah. Never. No, but they talk about the focus. They talk about the concentration. And it was difficult to hear because Jason Kelce's trying to give an honest answer. And all you hear in the background is the crowd chanting, Dallas sucks, which is just phenomenal. But I know they're going to get asked that question a lot. I think this team has leadership, has coaching, and has talent above all else to keep this going for quite a long time. The Titans game is going to be a threat. The Giants game is going to be a threat. The next Dallas game is going to be a threat. But overall, this team, I think, has it in them to just keep the winning coming.
I got to interview Devonta Smith Tuesday, right? I'm sure he's gonna make a joke with me right before the interview because I don't know if you saw my post. I tweeted about I shared his Instagram story. He doesn't give a crap about your fantasy team, by the way. And like people were just slamming him left and right. I was defending him. You know, I said, preach, man. I don't care. But why do people seem to care Devonta Smith isn't balling? Like, who cares?
You mentioned it. You mentioned it. Your fantasy team. You mentioned it. Yeah, you got it. That's why people care. It's stupid. It's absolutely. You know what? Devonta Smith is a great example for why this team could possibly be undefeated. Remember that block he threw? Was it 2 weeks ago? I think it was the week before. Yeah, I think it was the Dallas game. He threw that block. They get into the end zone, and he throws like the biggest fist pump, yes, hell yeah, type of thing. The Jags game. Thank you.
Yeah.
You see that game go out there, and you see him go out there and throw that block. That's something that usually gets under the radar. He was so excited as a first-round Heisman Trophy winning wide receiver to throw a block. That shows you how selfless this team is. Oh, did we get the 7 points? Did we get the 6 points? That's all I need. And time again, I think this kid, Devonta Smith, is just going to be there for whatever the team needs. Because here's you go. He can throw that block. He can run that play. He can do it. He can love it. And then he can also put up numbers for you. He can take a 5-10-yard slant route, take it 60 yards. Like, he's got that talent too. And I don't think he's being ignored. I think there's another guy that happens to be open faster, and that's A.J. Brown. But that doesn't mean Devonta Smith, and I think everybody knows this. Devonta Smith is not all of a sudden not talented. Devonta Smith's doing what he's asked to win. And when you're 8-0, it's hard to argue against that. So I think it's only the people that are looking at their fantasy numbers going, what the hell, Devonta Smith? And they're not looking at it for the team aspect of this, of this Philadelphia Eagles team that is so valuable.
Yeah, I have Devonta Smith in my fantasy teams. I don't even care. It's like, I didn't even realize he only had 2 catches for 22 yards last night because he caught both targets that were, I'm never like during the game, oh, where's Devonta Smith? Why doesn't Devonta Smith exist? I know he exists. I know he's making plays. He's open like all the time. It's just the ball doesn't go to him because you got Dallas Goedert. Right. You got A.J. Brown. Like, you got embarrassment of riches. But here's a perfect example, right, Farzy? So Quez Watkins had 80 receiving yards going into the night. I bet Eagles fans didn't know that. He only had 80 receiving yards.
That's insane. That's absolutely bonkers.
That's your fourth wide receiver. Zach Pascal had 1 catch for 3 yards last night. He's your third receiver, and he's open a lot. Like, there are a lot of guys on this team that are just open. It's an embarrassment of riches. When someone says to me the Eagles are the best wide receiver corps in the NFL and you can't argue with me on this, I said, I'm not going to. Honestly, the 3 best teams have probably the 3 best receiving corps in the NFL. The Chiefs, the Bills, and the Eagles. Like, the Bills throw the ball a lot more than the Eagles do, and so do the Chiefs. And that's why you're seeing, like, these skewed numbers. And Devonta Smith's getting his. It's just outside of Washington, he just hasn't had that Devonta Smith game, but you know it's coming.
Yeah, you mentioned Zach Pascal, and 2 things on this. One, I want to correct something I said on the pregame show, which was Jason Kelsey had a conversation with Zach Pascal where Zach Pascal sought him out for advice. It wasn't Jason Kelsey. It's even more strange than that. And this is about on the practice field they were talking. Zach Pascal sought out Brandon Graham, not Jason Kelsey. I misheard what Nick Sirianni said going into this game in his latest press conference. Zach Pascal was seeking out a defensive end for help on the football field. At first, I was like, what the hell? First, I thought he said Jason Kelsey. It wasn't. It was Graham. And then I see Zach Pascal, if you remember, a little I think it was a run by Miles Sanders where he went to the outside. Zach Pascal goes up there and throws a great block on their edge rusher. And I thought that's probably what he was talking about. He was probably, as a smaller wide receiver, was probably talking to Brandon Graham about how he can get an advantage on an edge rusher like Brandon Graham, for instance, to make that block to spring a running back free. And I saw that, and it's the first thing I thought about. And it's another thing that goes to the selflessness of this wide receiving core, where if they're not going to be making plays for you by catching the football, getting the yards, and getting the glory of being in the touchdown or being in the end zone, scoring a touchdown with their hands up in the air, they're going to do whatever they can to make sure that their team keeps moving the ball downfield to make sure they get those points. It's a selfless team. And that's how I think this team is going to continue this undefeated record until they maybe face the Titans, until maybe they face the Giants, until maybe they face those more established teams in the NFL this season.
Horsey, before I let you go, obviously, I guess we can call it bittersweet because the Eagles are 8-0, but I think the team we really wanted to win last night was the Phillies, and I'm still a little disappointed. I think the series is over. I hope I'm dead wrong. I hope they shock the world, but I don't know. What's your thoughts before I let you go here?
My thoughts are, if I'm betting on the game, I'm betting that the Astros unfortunately win in 6 games tomorrow night. They wrap it up with Valdez going up against Wheeler. It's crazy to me to think that Nola and Wheeler have not contributed to this team winning. I mean, it's just bonkers to me that you go into the World Series. You needed them not even to pitch their best games ever, but give us the 6 innings, 2 runs, 7 innings, 2 runs. Give us those types of performances. Not even like 7 scoreless. It'd be nice, but it didn't happen. But the fact that they're in the 6th game is pretty incredible. Last night, I know he had 2 hits, but Alec Boehm's at bat in the 8th inning. I have no idea what the hell he was doing at that at bat. Not a pitch was in the strike zone, and he swung at all but one of them. It could have been a bases loaded 1 out or bases loaded no out situation, and instead they settled for the 1 run on Gene Segura's RBI single, and then Trey Mancini's catch with that 1 hopper hitting his right. He looked terrified, by the way. If that ball got by him, Houston fans who hated the trade up until that point would have just railed on the guy. But Kyle Schwarber almost gets a clutch hit in the 3rd inning of the night before during the no-hitter that would have changed things throughout that game. And then he gets the bullet 1 hopper down to Trey Mancini that would have at least been the game-tying run. And it goes right in Mancini's mitt. JT Realmuto hits it. Of course, it's one of our own, Westchester's own, Chad McCormick, who comes up with the huge catch on JT Realmuto. But if I had to say, I think the Phillies, I'm going to keep rooting for them. I'm going to watch. I'm going to be hanging on every pitch. But I don't think it's going to bounce their way.
I said this is what sucked about last night. As someone who's covered Chaz McCormick back when he was in high school, who's followed his career the entire time, like, nice guy, family, nice people in the world, diehard Phillies fans, by the way. That made me sick. I'm like, geez, like, come on. I know that's why you're playing. That's why you're a Major League Baseball player. You had to do this. And Trey Mancini's another one. Loved him in Baltimore. Was one of my favorite players there. The biggest defensive liability on the planet. And when he made that play, I'm like, you gotta be kidding.
Right in his mitt. Right in his mitt.
Yeah, it sucks. I mean, it honestly sucks. But it is what it is. They should have been here. again, is where I got to make my point on them. I know everybody wants to talk about the bats going cold the last 2 games, but you nailed it. You nailed it right on the head, Farzy. The fact that Aaron Nola gave you nothing and Zach Wheeler all of a sudden is tired, that's the storyline of this World Series. These guys, I don't know what the deal is. I'd love to find out. It's an innings-related thing. I'm sure they're beat. JT Realmuto looks tired too, by the way, but that's the storyline of this World Series. You needed those two to show up to beat them, and they didn't show up. Bottom line.
First off, last night I had 2 TVs going, as I'm sure most of the Delaware Valley did. Hoskins, Realmuto, Castellanos 0 for 14. 0 for 14 combined last night. Over the last 2 games, 0 for 25. So, yeah, that also is not going to get it done. But as far as Wheeler and Nola go, remember 2008 Cole Hamels, how great he was?
Yep.
Remember 2009 Cole Hamels, how bad he was? He hit the wall in 2009, and it feels like that Cole Hamels syndrome of 2009 hit the Phillies a year earlier than it should have by about 3 games, unfortunately. If they just would have pushed it back a little further, maybe you're talking about these guys dealing in the postseason, especially in the World Series, and it just hasn't happened. They hit that wall. Unfortunately. So they work in a way. If you would have told me going into the series, Wheeler and Nola were going to pitch like this, I'd be like, no way they're even in it. And it's like, well, they've won 2 games. It's like, how? How did they win 2 games? And they mashed. That's how they did it.
Bryce Harper, Rhys Hoskins, JT Realmuto. In their 3 losses, they are combined 1 for 33. That's all you need to know. That's all I need to know. I hate to say it. I love this team. I think they're going to be a lot better next year because they're going to make the additions. But John Middleton's not going to just capitalize on merchandise sales here. But I think they run out of gas, Farzy. I hate to let you go on that bad of a note.
Yeah, thanks, Jeff. No, I'm just kidding. Hey, hopefully they give us a Game 7 at least, right?
Yeah, exactly. That's all I want. I just want 2 more games of baseball. That's all I'm going to ask for. Whatever happens, happens. All right, Farzy. Thanks for coming on, my friend. Always great talking Eagles with you. I'll have to get you back on soon.
Sounds good, brother. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, that's it. Okay, and we got a couple minutes left here, guys. I guess I'll give my thoughts on the Eagles here and everything that's going on. Look, we got 2 NFC East teams on bye this week, right? So Giants aren't playing, Cowboys aren't playing. So I guess Clarence Hill decided to wake up and choose violence this morning. Didn't have his engagement, didn't have his orange juice yet, and I don't know what he's talking about, to be honest with you. I'm not going to entertain him on Twitter. I like Clarence a lot. He's a really good writer. Just a stupid tweet. It's a stupid tweet. It basically is discrediting everything the Eagles have done, basically saying the Cowboys can beat them, the Vikings can beat them, the Giants can beat them, the 49ers can beat them. And he may be right. The Eagles may not go to Super Bowl. The NFL is a crazy league, as we know. I thought there was no way the Kansas City Chiefs or the Buffalo Bills weren't going to the Super Bowl last year, and the Cincinnati Bengals ended up doing it. It's possible. But I don't think Clarence wants the smoke of Lincoln Financial Field in a playoff game, especially when the Eagles are playing the Dallas Cowboys. I think the Cowboys are a better team with Dak Prescott. I'm not going to lie. I think they're I'll say this right now. The Dallas Cowboys are the second best team in the NFC. They are. Are they better than the Eagles? No, they are not. Again, Eagles are here. They're here. They're little brother. I know Cowboys fans want to call the Eagles little brother because they want to feel better about themselves, and that's fine. They're allowed to do that. They have 5 Super Bowls, whatever. I don't care. They haven't won any since I was 7. Back when the Dallas Cowboys, okay, big NASCAR fan here. The last time the Cowboys won a Super Bowl, Jeff Gordon and Dale Earnhardt were battling for a NASCAR championship. Think about that. Jeff Gordon's been retired for years, and Dale Earnhardt, and you guys know. So, again, I don't need to entertain the Cowboys really wanting to be relevant here. It's a joke. They're a really good football team, but they beat a bad Bears team, and the Eagles are going to face this bad Bears team in December. So let's not get ahead of ourselves here. The Cowboys are on their bye week. That's great. They got a couple big games coming up. They got the Minnesota Vikings coming up. They got the Giants coming up. I'm not really – the Eagles could be up 3 games on them by week 16, maybe even 4. Because the Eagles' schedule is – it's easy. They play Washington. Washington's better with Taylor Heineke. They're going to give them a run for their money, but the Eagles got 11 days to prepare for them. Not too concerned. Indianapolis is – they're bad. I did not think Indianapolis would be this bad. They were bad on the offensive line. Jonathan Taylor can't find holes all of a sudden. They're basically playing Sam Ellinger at quarterback because they're in. The Matt Ryan experiment's a failure. Not good, guys. Colts aren't that great. Then you got Green Bay. You know the problems they have. I don't know if they'll ever figure it out. I want to say they will because Aaron Rodgers is a good football player. And Matt LaFleur is a lot better head coach than people give him credit for. But, man, they just – I don't know. Something's off there. Something is off in Green Bay. They missed Devonta Adams. Devonta Adams should have never left, and Aaron Rodgers should have taken $50 million a year. But that's what they wanted, and they got to live with it. Tennessee's going to be a tough game. No doubt about that. That's after Green Bay. And you got the Giants. That's going to be a big game in New York. But it's going to be a fun one because the Giants are a lot better than people think. But they're still a Giant. I don't think they match up talent levels. Don't. And you got the Bears, and you got the Cowboys, and you got the Saints, and you got the Giants again. I just don't know. I mean, there's going to be a slip up. There always is. It's the NFL. It's good. The Eagles go 17-0. Congrats. But again, we're not even 9 games in yet. We're 8 games in. The Eagles are 8-0. They have the best record in football. They are one of the 3 best teams in football. I'll go even further and say they're one of the 2 best teams in football. Right now, I think it's Eagles and the Bills. If we had to pick a Super Bowl matchup right now, it's Eagles-Bills. That's the Super Bowl matchup right now. They're the 2 best teams. Because Kansas City's got to go into Buffalo, and teams got to go to Philadelphia. And the Eagles haven't lost a home playoff game at Lincoln Financial Field since 2013. So, again, you guys saw in 2017 what happens when you have home field advantage at the Link. It's not a place I want to play in late January. It just isn't. The Vikings are better. There's no doubt about that. The Cowboys are better with Dak Prescott. There's no doubt about that. The 49ers are going to be dangerous for Christian McCaffrey. They're the teams. They are the teams. I'll even include the Seattle Seahawks, but that could be the NFC divisional playoff matchup. But again, you still have to see because right now Dallas is the 5th seed. They would play Seattle, I think. No, they play Atlanta. So the Eagles may never even see Seattle. Again, it's crazy to think playoffs at this time. But this is what you do when your team's 8-0. You're making the playoffs. Every team that starts 8-0 makes the playoffs. 9 teams of the 29 that started 8-0 made the Super Bowl. So it's a pretty good chance, pretty good percentage. Again, I like this team, guys. I do. They got 11 days to prepare for Washington. Yeah, what else I gotta say? I mean, I'm not gonna sit here and discredit Philadelphia. I'm not. I can discredit Dallas because they have blemishes. I can discredit the Giants, they have blemishes. I can discredit Washington. They've had tons of blemishes. But they're first place. I mean, the Eagles are the best team in the best division in football. And that is the NFC East. And that's all you need to know. So we got Burst 365 coming up next. John McMullen. My name is Jeff Kerr. I'm going to have a couple articles today on the game on CBSSports.com. I'm going to be grading the Eagles at the midway point because this is kind of the midway point for them. Week 9 is the midway point of the season. So that'll be up in a couple hours. And then I'm going to get a lot of sleep because I still have to cover leagues this week. I'm actually doing Seattle and Arizona, which should be a good game. But I'm like you guys, man. I need my sleep, but I'm so fired up this morning. Fired up for you guys. Glad to see you guys. Keep commenting in the comment section. See my boy ET. See my boy Paul. You know, a lot of these guys. Keep bringing the heat, man. This is Good Morning NFC East. Burst 365 is next. Have a great day, guys.
Go to get your game on. Go for the beers. Go for the cheers. Go for the hit and the hits. Go for the stakes and the stakes. Go to get your parlay on. Go to get your party on.